What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Alcoholics Unanimous. A very special episode as we're joined with a guest interview. We are here with Alyssa. Alyssa, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am this mom of two across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And we just got some news. There's a little bit of a uptick on views on your profile, so that's awesome.
Yes, one of the trends finally paid off. So
Finally paid off. Yeah, that's good. Are you do you study those? Do you go into those a little bit?
honestly, not really. The ones that are kind of tailored to like single moms, I'm like, okay, how can I put my spin on this? But you won't catch me dancing to a trend, that's for sure.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can say the same there. I don't do any of the trends, but I you definitely won't catch me dancing.
Yes, yes.
Cool. So, how long you been doing your Instagram, YouTube pages?
So I made my sober mom Instagram about 2 years ago. I was just in a place where I felt like my Instagram was my journal, but it didn't really apply to the new version of myself that I was.
Okay, cool. And I'm sure that's something we can get into a little bit deeper throughout our conversation here. But cool, cool. Well, thank you again for being here. I'm excited to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a kind of a monumental episode, first interview that I've done. Outside of me just rambling into my camera here.
You interview yourself. You do it really well.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's basically what it is. And I think we were talking beforehand, and I was just like, just the rambling is kind of what I think where I find my gold. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll write down some topics and I'll just go off of that. But then it usually ends up going somewhere, sort of.
You start on the path and it takes you where you need to go.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So yeah, your whole kind of I wouldn't say I don't know if image is the right word, but it's a sober mom of two, right?
Yeah, we can call it, I guess, a niche. Single sober mom of two. I work full time and then I have my kids 5 days out of the week.
Okay, so single mom of two, single sober mom of two.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, so that must be a difficult little path that you're traveling down, but probably fulfilling.
Yes, very rewarding. And I didn't get sober until my oldest daughter was almost 1 year old.
Okay.
And now that I am sober, people are like, wow, of all times to not drink, you really picked the craziest
Yeah.
time.
How do you deal with wine night with like the other moms, you know? Like that's got to be something.
It is, but I feel like our generation is finally on this wave of like alcohol's not cool anymore. Like, what are the other options?
Sure, sure. Yeah, being present is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Being there. And I think it's just something that especially with I see with my friends too that are normies, they kind of are growing out of it too.
Yeah.
I think it's outside of my influence as well. They're just kind of like, "Oh, this hurts me now. I can't really do this anymore."
The hangovers hurt the older you are.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I guess I haven't had a hangover in a long time, but they were getting worse after a
Yeah.
while.
They don't get better. I think we've learned that.
Yeah, well, my secret was always just drinking through the hangover, and so never if you're always drunk, you're never hungover. That was my mentality.
I'm surprised I never thought of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. I would do the same thing. If I was hungover in the morning, I would be like, oh, a mimosa sounds great.
yeah,
And then I would wrangle the friends that agreed with me, and
right.
then we wouldn't be hungover.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a sure save or a safe way to kind of cure it until it's not anymore.
For
Uh,
sure.
but anyways, yeah, let's get into it. Like tell me a
Okay.
little bit about your kind of backstory, your history with alcohol. As much as you want to divulge into. But yeah, give me a little bit of the dark days, I guess.
Okay. Um, I will answer any questions. I have no shame in what happened just because I've read some books about women and like they've drank around their kids and whatever, and I'm like, more stories like this need to be told, or we feel like we're the only ones that like alcohol is doing this to.
Mhm.
I got my first DUI when I was 17 years old,
Mm.
and I got my second DUI when I was 18 years old.
Oh, went back to back.
So I was within 1 year.
Yeah.
So I ended up actually going to jail when I was 18
Oh,
for 30 days. And I still thought, I don't have a problem with alcohol at all. This is
yeah.
normal. This is fun. Um, Whatever. So I spent probably 10 years drinking to the point where I would black out. And I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings. We
Mm.
played beer pong till 4 in the morning. We went to Taco Bell and then we went to work the next day and like did it all again. Um, so I definitely drank until I blacked out probably all the time.
Mm.
And I was the person who would start drinking the earliest and stop drinking like last.
Yeah.
So I would drive when I was drinking. Um, and my license ended up getting revoked for 5 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a lot. I went to jail twice, actually. I ended up going to jail for a probation violation because I couldn't stop drinking, and you had to do UAs, and they caught me. And I would say I thought that was the darkest part of my drinking, but because everyone else was doing it, it wasn't taboo.
Mm.
And then I went through a really rough breakup in 2017, and I spent at least a year like drinking around the clock during that time.
Sure.
So that was crazy. And then I got sober in 2021.
2021. Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
What was that thing? What was the thing that kicked it off for you? How did you realize that you had that problem finally?
Um, I it took me give like as soon as I had my daughter, I started drinking again just to I had a COVID baby, and so like I couldn't really have that much help. And I went back to work 3 weeks after having a C-section, and I was working from home, like holding and nursing my baby and like working, and I had no help because COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to cope with all of that, I was drinking. And then before she turned a year, a friend of mine, um, she was seeing a guy and they went their separate ways from the bar. And he ended up crashing his car and dying.
Oh, geez.
And I was on like a FaceTime with her. This was during like the George Floyd trial, and her and I were like FaceTiming and watching it. And she was like, I just got a text that so and so passed away. Like, I have to go. And I was like, what the fuck? Um, and she lived in California at that time, and she ended up coming up to Oregon to stay with me. And to cope with his death, we drank.
Mm.
And when she left, it hit me. I was like, how can I continue drinking when these are the things that happen when people drink? And it's getting like closer and closer and closer to home.
Mhm.
And there were times when like would I let my babysitter watch my kid drunk? No. So like why am I watching my kid drunk? And not like, you know what I mean, but it
Right.
was just kind of like snowballing, and I was like, I'm sick of this. Like this is I can't live like this. And so I didn't tell her that that was what got me sober, but when she left, it kind of all came to me in a way of like, you can't live like this
Mm.
anymore.
Got it. Yeah, that's the getting sick of it piece. That was kind of my thing too. It wasn't like a singular thing that happened necessarily to me. It was just like I can't I hate how I feel. I hate how think about myself. I just hate really everything about me. But I still had that piece that loved myself enough to realize like, oh hey, like you can change it, or you can reach out for help or something like that.
Yeah.
Um so I guess with your case, I guess felt the devil creeping a little bit closer to you, every day, huh?
Yeah. And I just had to, I honestly, this sounds so cliche, but it is actually what happened. I like looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you don't look good. Like
Yeah.
this isn't you. And I had had thoughts like while drinking and like seeing other people drunk. I was like, oh, I don't act like that. And it's like, no, bitch, yes, you do. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you're not remembering. And
Yeah.
I had to really ask myself, like, the example I want to set.
Hmm.
like I chose to have a child, and so I'm going to lead by the example of we don't need to have wine every night.
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. That it is a cliche for sure, but I mean, there's a reason why things are cliche, and it's because I think most of the time they're true, right? Like
Yeah.
you see yourself in the mirror, and you see your face drooping, and your eyes puffy, and your whole face red, and all that stuff, and whatever
Yeah.
whatever happens, you just realize like, oh, that is me, but it's not me at the same time.
Right. Do you feel like you realized it like while you were drinking, or do you feel like you realized it like in a next morning kind of way?
No, it was like 3 a.m. and I was hammered and also high. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And I just was outside smoking a cigarette by myself and just was like, what am I doing with my life right now? Like I have work at 7 or not 7. I have work at 7. What am I
Yeah.
doing to myself? So yeah, it was like a total in the moment thing, which I think that happens a lot, or that thought happened before while I was in the inebriated state, but
Yeah.
for some reason that one, I called someone and reached out for help like in that moment. And so yeah, I don't know what was specifically different about it, but yeah, it was during one of those times.
I feel like when you realize that you aren't the issue and it's the alcohol that you're choosing or that you are consuming, choosing is tricky, but you have to realize that like you're not all of these negative things.
Mhm.
It's the substance that you're consuming. And when you're drinking, you're like, I'm all these negative things, and you hate yourself and it's a depressant. And then when you're hungover, like you have all this anxiety. But when you're finally not drinking, you realize that like your potential is there. It
Mhm.
was just numbed by your choice in drink.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. The Well, the for me the big thing that I always talk about is like I was doing pretty well with everything else outside of my life. Like I didn't have any attachments as far as like a kid or a relationship or something like that. So I was holding down my job. I was succeeding, and that actually added to part of the reason where I went like, well, what if I wasn't just stuck on this substance all the time? What if I was free from that? Like, what else could I
Mhm.
accomplish? So yeah, that was kind of part of it even before I even got off got off anything. But wow, okay. So yeah, you've you had a storied backstory there. That's it's always interesting. I love hearing people's backstories. Sometimes people don't like to talk about it, but I feel like it's such a huge part that we have to kind of dive into as addicts and alcoholics.
Are you someone who got into going to AA regularly?
I did at first, and then I kind of fell off. There were some things I really liked about it, and then some things that I didn't like too much about it, which maybe I just didn't find the right meeting. But
Yeah.
there was a lot of politics and stuff involved in like decision making and who could speak and this and that, and a lot of different meetings were somewhat similar. Um, but when I first like I went to rehab, in my first probably 3 months, I was going maybe 3 different meetings a day. So
Yeah.
I might have done some overkill with it as well. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't really work for me as it did for some others. What about you?
I was court ordered to go to a lot of AA meetings.
Okay.
And for me, um, this was like over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I was like the youngest, and I felt like I was wearing my shoes on the wrong feet.
Mhm.
And I hope like our generation of like non-drinkers is able to come up with something that's more not AA like,
Mhm.
because I think hearing stories like this and just like seeing other normal people out functioning in the world that have like made the big choice to not drink
Yeah.
in America, that's like obsessed with Bud Light during all of our football games. And it's like there's mommy wine culture and all of these things. But like AA kind of felt like I was a student in the wrong class.
Mm, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
What did you feel that was wrong about it?
It was a lot of older
Uh,
white men, and no one seemed happy to be there. No one seemed happy to be sharing.
mm,
Everyone was kind of mumbling, and I live in Portland, Oregon. Um, but this was 10 years ago before 2020. I just don't feel like it's as welcoming as inviting as like we can now find on social media.
sure. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think there was a lot of meetings that had that same vibe to it where it was just kind of like lifers, basically. Like you're almost serving
Yeah.
a sentence while you're there. But there were some meetings I went to that were like I went to this one. I got sober in Oakland, California, and
Okay.
um, and there was this meeting called Night of the Living Dead, which was like I saw that name and I'm like, oh, this is probably my spot.
I should go.
Yeah, I should go. Yeah, it called out to me. So I showed up and there's people my age, and I was, I guess, 26 at the time, um, 27 maybe. And so like I went in there like sort of as a young guy, but there's people in there that were like 18, 19. There was people
Wow.
my age. There's people that were like in their 50s, 60s. So it was like this eclectic mix of people. So I got to hear newcomer stories like myself. I got to hear people that are like 7, 8 months sober. And then there's people that are 20 years sober in there at the same time. So that meeting, like I really liked that meeting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not close to it anymore. And I live about an hour and a half south of Oakland now.
Okay.
So it's not really feasible to make that one, but yeah, that was probably the best meeting I found because of that. Like you said, like you were saying with their meetings you didn't like, it's just one group, one type of people.
Mhm.
It's not really the business, I don't think. But
Mhm.
Oakland is a very eclectic city, so we got a whole mix of people. It was nice.
Nice. I think California is like a good place to be in the non-drinking aspect. You've got your nice weather,
Yeah.
and then it's not as I don't know the word, where like there's a bunch of different cultures.
Um. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I can't think of
Okay.
the word either. Yeah.
As some places, but I feel like people in California generally have this like they live in like one of the best states and they want to be like one of the best versions of themselves while they're living there.
Sure. Yeah. There is some of that. There's a lot of fakeness of that, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I forgot about that whole aspect, but
yeah.
do you feel like you have a core group? Because you asked, how do I like manage going out with like people that are drinking? And I feel I have caught the jackpot in friends because none of my friends have ever been like, "Ugh, just one. Like, are you really not?" All of my friends have always been like, okay, cool. Like, you're not drinking.
Hmm.
Like, I've never felt shame or weird or anything about it. Do you have that kind of support in like your group?
Yeah, I do actually. The main core group of like my friends was actually telling me to get sober
Oh,
the
wow.
first time around. So they are completely supportive of it.
Nice.
And they're actually to so I maybe they're even too supportive sometimes because I went through this phase in 2023. So I was about 3.5 years sober. And at the beginning of the year, I was kind of talking to my friends like, "Hey, it's been 3.5 years. Like, I think I want to try drinking again." What I now know is a was a relapse. I was disguising as like this experiment to see if I could drink. And they were, I explained it to them, and I got their blessing basically from, from that. Like, okay, like try it, but I'm gonna call you the fuck out if I see well, the patterns. And luckily they did, they stuck to their word. And I pretty much after a month was like almost back to where I started. It was like so fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, I wish they would have pushed back a little bit the first time. But on the second thought, I go, well, at least I know now for sure that I cannot
Yeah.
drink at all. But yeah, they're supportive. They're very supportive. Do you have like if your friends do go out to drink, do you have like or do you even go? Do you even go out to like a bar or anything anymore?
Um, Full disclosure, if I go on like a first date, I like to not let them know I'm like
Mm,
not drinking at all because I
yeah.
don't want to kill someone's vibe. I've done that before
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, you're not drinking?" Well then, and for me, I'm like, "No, do your thing. I actually kind of want to see how much you drink, first of all."
Sure.
But I like to look at the NA menu and if they have something cool, I'll get it, or I just do a soda water with lime.
Okay.
But at home, half of my fridge is all of my favorite like sparkling drinks.
Yeah, me too.
So
Yeah.
Amazon is like pissed that all my packages are heavy, but
Yeah. Well,
it is what it
sorry.
is.
That's how you got to survive. So,
I really do. I think it is a ritual.
mhm,
And I want to ask you if you've read any books on like drinking and whatnot, but I've realized like I need a drink. And for
yeah.
me, instead of it, like mine was wine for a really long time.
Mhm,
I had to kind of forgive myself that like I need to have a drink all the time
mm,
because I would be like, "Oh my God, you're on your third sparkling water, like calm down." But then at the same time, I'm like, "Well, you also used to wake up and justify drinking at 9 in the morning, so
right.
do you?"
Right.
But it's just, I did smoke cigarettes for 10 years.
Yeah.
And one day I just quit and then I kept drinking. And so I think it is like this oral
Yeah.
fixation ritual thing that like you have to have something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. My fridge is all sparkling this, sparkling that.
Yes.
And it's all, I'm trying different stuff every week too. I'm like, oh, let me see what this tastes like. Let me see what this tastes like. I've got my go-tos, but I think that it is that oral fixation of, and also that, the tinging or the tingy feeling from
Yeah.
the carbonation, it almost mimics like that alcohol, like
Burn.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So I think that has a big deal with it because I've talked to a lot of people who had same thing. It's like sparkling,
Yeah.
sparkling water are their go-to, just because of that same exact that feeling that you're kind of wanting with
Hmm.
that. So yeah, I'm the same exact way. Yeah, same exact way.
I'm not alone.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. You're not alone by any means. I mean, I think most people I've talked to that are kind of in our same situation that's what their go-to is. Like I drink regular water too all the time, just regular bottled water or filtered water. But for some reason, it doesn't like party mode or if like get together
Yeah.
mode. It doesn't do the same effect. It feels like you're just chilling at home. Whereas like I want to be out and about, like, or if I am, then yeah, give me soda water or something and
Yeah.
let me get crazy.
For sure. Did you read any books in the beginning or like listen to anything that helped kind of click your brain into I can't drink anymore?
Um, I mean, it was a lot of like rehab was really good for me. I honestly like it was probably one of the better times I've had in my life, which was like
Wow.
going through that whole experience. And there was a couple of repeaters in there that
Mhm.
were saying like this group was really good. So that was my only rehab experience, and I loved it. But there was other people that like I said, have went through it that were saying this group was different. So maybe I just got lucky. But everyone in there was really supportive, and like we went we'd go to meetings together while we were there with each other. It was like a really tight-knit group, but I didn't read really anything at the time besides like just reading stuff from the big book.
Yeah.
That the little book they give you, I think it's called Living Sober.
Hmm.
I read that one too. So just like little things like that, but mostly I do better with just talking, conversations. I really, if I hear something, I'll remember it a lot better than reading it. Now there's audiobooks, so I guess there's no excuse, but, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really read too much. Um, except for, have you heard of this book? What is it called? Ah, dang it. I can't remember the name. I have it right here. Hang on. Oh, Beautiful Boy. Uh,
No.
oh, so it's pretty wild. It's a book about this dad whose son was a an addict. He did a bunch of different things, alcohol, meth, heroin, all kinds of different things. And it's his perspective on it,
Oh, wow.
of his like what he went through, what he saw his son going through. And that one really impacted me just because like that was a big thing for me was like what my parents were going through at the time, what my friends were going through, just anybody that cared about me. That I'm a really empathetic person, so that is what affects me more. But I read that book and that one really hit home for me. I was like crying through the whole thing. It's pretty intense.
Was that after rehab or
Yeah,
before?
that was
Okay.
after. Yeah, so it was like probably it was probably like a year or so after I went through all that. Then I read that book, which I wouldn't recommend that book for anybody that is fresh and new into sobriety because it is pretty intense and he goes into like the the I don't know, really granular um details of this kind of sobriety and or not sobriety, but addiction and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when you're first choosing to stop being numb,
Hmm.
all of the feelings
Yeah.
that you feel,
Hmm.
you're like, nope, this is like way too much. I would rather whatever, but it's good and bad. I feel like I've always been a super empath person.
Hmm.
And now that I don't drink and I have to process my anger after I had kids, this postpartum rage, my oldest is about to be 5 in October. I am now an angry person. I don't know what it is, but like anger for me
Yeah.
is like so quick and it's because no one listens to me. But having to feel angry and then calm myself down is like exhausting.
Sure. Yeah.
And so those are the times where I'm like, ugh, I wish I didn't feel anything right now.
Mm.
Or on a Friday, you had like a long ass week and you just want to do nothing. Like
Yeah.
you are watching your show, but you're still thinking, right? Like as
Yeah.
someone who used to drink all the time. And for me, I think that's the hardest part is just like having to think your thoughts and feel your feelings.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've gotten a lot better at that over the years. I mean, therapy has really helped with that. Do you go to therapy at all?
I did.
Yeah.
Um, and then I realized that like other people in my life were the ones that needed to go to therapy. And I was just paying to talk about them. But I have done like 5, 6, 7 years worth of therapy. And for you as like a guy, I think it's really commendable to one, go to rehab and two, talk about the fact that you go to therapy on your podcast because however you grew up or whatever persona like you have in your head, I think it's hard to just talk about your feelings and to talk to someone who's like non-biased and there to help you is so helpful in itself.
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's 100% been the driver for like most of my positive reframing and things like that. Like with the like you were saying with the anger thing, like yeah, I mean the floodgates come off when you first get sober and it's really tough to deal with that. But then it does kind of once it settles a little bit, then you start getting into like, okay, this is how now I feel. With like the anger thing, like I was getting angry as well. And there was these techniques my therapist taught me that was called dialectic behavioral therapy. If you haven't
Okay.
heard of this, you should look into it. It's really it was really helpful for those kind of feelings, but it basically teaches you how to like recognize your emotion first of all, kind of draw back to like what triggered it, and then from there like why did it trigger you? And then basically from there, you kind of get like the pathway to, okay, this is maybe why this random thing that this person said had pissed me off so much. It's because it's connected to all these, crazy things that happened in your past. And once I started getting into that, I really started understanding myself a little better. And then
Mhm.
the kind of able to buffer those triggers a little bit and like stop them as they're happening. And that was therapy. That was all therapy. That's I couldn't say more positive things about it. Besides, like if you have a bad therapist and that's your experience, then
You got to shop around.
yeah, it's like dating, right? It's like dating. You gotta,
Exactly. And you're paying them. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
got to find a good one.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, don't waste your time with somebody you're like, oh, I don't know about this person. Like, if
Yeah.
that's how you feel right away, I would say just keep shopping, like you said. But yeah, I tell everyone that even if you're the happiest person in the world, like still go to therapy because you can maybe learn how to make yourself even happier at that point.
I had a therapist tell me one time that when you're angry, you're supposed to use the acronym HALT, and you're either hungry,
Uh, yep.
angry, lonely, or tired. And half of the time I'm hungry and tired. And so I'm
Yeah.
like talking myself down. Like your dialect one is good, but then also recognizing like where your cup is not full is helpful too.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So yeah, when you're heightened emotions, usually you like haven't taken care of yourself in like a little bit of a certain way.
Yeah, that's very true. Like exercise too is such a big
For
component.
sure.
Mental health in general, your gut health too. Like,
Yeah.
now that we're not drinking, like our stomachs are probably much more healthier. Um, I actually, kind of random tangent, but I went, I became lactose intolerant while I was drinking, and I stopped drinking, and I was able to tolerate it again. So it's
Weird. Hmm.
proof right there that something is, it's cooking up something bad in your stomach.
I will say for people who like just want information on alcohol, This Naked Mind was a book I read and it just tells you like what happens once alcohol enters your system
Mhm.
and then how long it takes like alcohol to leave your system. And we talked about like having a red face. Alcohol is literally like going and like bursting capillaries in your skin. And for me, just like knowing what was happening with what I was putting in my body was really mind opening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nutrition, in general too, like just with the
Yeah.
foods and the inflammatory stuff that um, everyone's consuming, like it's hard to get away from it. But, yeah,
Not as much Taco Bell when you're sober.
exactly. Right. Yeah. Not as much to talk about. And then it's a positive feedback loop too, because the less you eat of it, the less you crave it.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's always positive. How, I mean, I guess a good transition. Like, what's your routine now for, like health, nutrition, things like that? What are you really emphasizing?
I've always loved going to the gym. Um, but now I emphasize on getting in there, lifting as heavy as I can, and leaving. I make sure I prep my breakfast and my lunches on Sundays.
Mm.
And then dinner, it's mom life. But I stopped only taking care of other people's needs. And now I have this frame of mind of like, I'm a caretaker, so I have to take care of myself first. So I make sure that I'm eating well. I did start incorporating like a few pre and probiotics here and there. I try to get sleep, but as a mom, that doesn't apply. But I think anyone who is newly sober, your sleep is messed up for a really long time in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, well, if I drank, I would sleep better. But you have to get over that hump of your sleep being shit.
Mhm.
But in the beginning, sleeping, eating well, getting outside, and just like moving your body, I think is like gonna set you up the right way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Just getting that circulation, like getting the blood pumping, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be that strenuous. Really, just going for a walk and being out in
Yeah,
the sunshine. I feel like makes a world of difference. Not just physically, but mentally too. Like
for sure.
get some fresh air, like not cooped up from the inside. And I feel like these walls, they just kind of, they just end. The world just ends there when I'm trapped inside of them. So getting outside kind of opens up your brain a little bit, and gets you going in the right direction. But sleep, that's a big one too. I think
Huge.
I struggle still with that, and it's something I'm working working through. I'm getting better at it, but I have a hard time shutting screens off. I have a hard
Oh,
time
yeah.
um, just kind of letting myself drift off to sleep. It's almost impossible for me. I have to really like meditate and and focus on one certain thing that kind of is not too emotionally driven, in order to like start drifting off to sleep. But it's so tough for me.
Do you play a white noise or something?
I actually play, you know, the show The Office. So
Yes, I do.
okay, well, so I won't play the actual show because I mean the TV will be just too bright. But I have on the Calm app, they have a soundscape of The Office, so it's just like,
Oh my gosh.
well, yeah, it's like little, the phone will ring, and then you hear like Dunder Mifflin, this is Pam, and it's just like little sounds here and there, and
I
that
love that.
helped me more than anything, sound wise, I guess. Like, those white noises and stuff. I don't know what that does to me, but it doesn't work as well as the Office soundscape. Yeah.
I hope one person hears that and they're like, "Oh my God, like that changed my life." But I learned that there's like brown noise, pink noise, like all these different noises.
Mhm.
But for someone who's an addict or an alcoholic, like your mind doesn't turn off. And being able to just grab that white or brown noise and have that be in your ear
Mhm.
helps you like not think your thoughts.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, um I guess for me it's like the noise of a fan or something that's kind
Yeah.
of like that'll help a little bit, but yeah, when it's just dead silent, it's like my mind is just like, wake up, you got
Yeah.
something
We're
going
awake.
on, dude. Yeah, now that you got, yeah, now no, there's no distractions. Like, go ahead
Yeah.
and think about all your stuff. Like, this is the opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool, cool. So let's see. I had another question that was I thought of what was it? We already talked. Yeah, never mind. What so like when you were, I guess, let's say like a year into sobriety. Maybe if you even really remember these times, because I feel like that time for me was still kind of turbulent. But what kept you going? I know you had your daughter at the time, or is your son or your daughter? You said
I have two girls.
two girls. Okay, so you had your first daughter at the time. What kept you going? Like, I know it's stressful, but what was the main contributor there?
I think when you hit a year, you're like, I could have a glass of wine. And like you hit 3 years. Like
Yeah.
I could, whatever. I take antidepressants. I had been on and off them for a long time, but after my first daughter, I called my doctor and we agreed that that was what's best. And I read a book about being on antidepressants, and it's like this umbrella, and you're taking your antidepressants and you're holding the umbrella and it's raining.
Mm,
And you think, well, it's not like I don't need this umbrella anymore. Like it's not raining. And then you put your umbrella down and then like you get all wet.
mm,
And I think about that like when it comes to my antidepressants, I
yeah.
need them. And then like drinking for me, I play the tape all the way through. I was married and I had my second child. My kids are 1 year and 9 months apart. And so I was pregnant at a year in,
Mm,
but it was stressful because I had a toddler, I was pregnant, and I actually had to move across the country because their dad was in the military. And so I had no one. And I think if I wasn't pregnant and I wasn't a mom, people should just play the tape all the way through because you think you can have one and then whatever. But did that ever work before? And those are just the questions like I had to ask myself. And if you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Play the tape all the way through. That's such a good um analogy too. And also I'm on antidepressants as well, so we're in a similar company, and that's such a good analogy that you just said, the umbrella. Because I think about that too, like almost the same, like you said, with okay, well, I've been doing this for a while. I'm probably okay without them. Let me see how that goes. And I haven't tried that yet because I know that's a lot. It could be dangerous for sure.
Yeah.
So like, but but I often wonder, like, is it even possible for me to just be fully just the way I was born, me? Is that even a possibility without some sort of thing, help either assisting me or hurting me or, something like that to assist with those feelings? I always wonder, like, if that's even possible.
But even your car needs an oil change and gas.
True. That's true.
So the way I think of it is like, yeah, I was born and like I lived and I take accountability for like but like things happened to me, right? And that kind of changed the aspect of my brain chemistry. And in order for me to be like the best version of myself, I do think like I have an imbalance that can only be balanced if I take antidepressants. And then I should probably not add alcohol into the mix.
Hmm.
And I did things while I was sober that if I had been drinking, I never would have done. And someone said one time, they were like, you will accomplish more 1 year sober than you will an entire life drinking. And I was like, that's not true.
Yeah.
It is. And I never would have what I have now if I were still drinking.
Right, right. Except for like maybe dancing on tables or something like that.
Maybe some TikTok trends of dancing, yes. But like just the driving aspect for me, like being dead sober, I would never go driving blindfolded.
Yeah.
But if I drank alcohol, it was totally worth it to drive to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not sane. And that just, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't live like that.
For sure. And that was kind of the time too, because like for me, that was somewhat similar. There wasn't like DoorDash or
No,
you know,
it wasn't.
to get to your door with all of your goodies. And
Yeah.
I'm glad there wasn't because now they deliver alcohol, and that would have been
Oh, yeah, that's right.
that would have been bad news for me. I would have never left the house.
No, you don't have to.
I have to. Yeah. Yeah. That
Do
was.
you,
Oh, go ahead.
so, do you use an app to like track your sobriety?
Yeah. I think it's just called
I am sober.
I'm sober. That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, I use that one too. And you can put in there like how much money you used to spend on alcohol.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I
I'm like, okay, that's a lot of money. And I spend some of that on sparkling whatevers, but you're not paying for everyone's shots. You're not
mhm,
like eating all of this. And then the next day,
mhm.
like you're spending money again because you feel like shit.
Yeah. Right.
So I think seeing how many days I haven't drank and how much money I've saved is a nice visual to have.
Yeah. I think the money thing is even more, almost more impactful than the time.
Yeah,
Just because like you're like, oh, that's stuff. That's time I could now. That's because money in my eyes is like this is how much your time is valued at, right? So it's like now this is more time I could spend on things I enjoy, as opposed to just like having to cope with whatever terrible feelings I have that day.
sure.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it was insane. I was drinking. I was probably drinking like at my worst, like a fifth of whiskey a day, basically. So it was half a bottle in the morning. I would sneak some throughout the day, and then at night I'd kill the rest of that bottle, and that
And
was
then
just
just pass out.
and just pass out. Yeah. And that was like your average Tuesday. If I went out or something like that, like, okay, oh, we're gonna meet at so and so's house for a pregame. And so I would pregame before that,
Yep.
pregame, start pregaming. By the time we get to the bar, I'm just destroyed. And then,
Mhm.
drinking even more and getting into other extracurriculars that aren't helping the cause at all. But yeah, all that money was just draining my funds. I was essentially putting myself on a week to week or check to check kind of lifestyle when I didn't have to at all. Like I could have been saving money, I could have been investing stuff, but nope, just decided to get rid of it all.
Throw it away. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's totally fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Do you ever use like the what is that function on there? The pledging on that app?
I don't. I should. I think that app is like helpful a lot. Like I really like that app. You can find people same day sober, sober longer, sober sooner.
Mhm.
But I did do a pledge in the first year that I was really on there a lot, but now I haven't. How about you?
Yeah, it's here and there. I'm not really, there's no schedule to it. I'll just, if one day the notification pops up and happen to see it and I'm like, sure, I'll pledge today or, whatever. So I don't really hold too much because the goal is always the same for me
Mhm.
still. So it's just staying sober. Um, and mostly I know how bad I feel when I'm drunk. I realize like how terrible I feel compared to normal.
Mhm.
And so like that already drives me. So the pledging, it doesn't really do too much to like change or reframe anything because I don't think anything really needs to be reframed in that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In the beginning, I think it's important to remember your why.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then the longer you're sober, you're like, oh, this is actually a pretty nice life. But in the beginning, you need that reminder, I feel like.
Yeah, that change from that living that lifestyle to trying to live sober is
Mhm.
it's so hectic and crazy, man. Those emotions, the hormones and everything that change from you don't really realize like the people will tell you like, hey, this is about to get crazy for you. But
Mhm.
you're like, yeah, uh-huh, okay. And and then you go through it and you're like, it's just worse than you even said.
Oh yeah. They can't put it into words, but they try to warn us.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Cool, cool. Well, anything else that you wanted to plug or say or anything?
I don't think so, but we can do this again.
Yeah, this was fun. This is awesome. Yeah, this like I said, it was the first one for me, so I'm glad that it went well. You're an awesome guest. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
being
having me.
on here. Oh yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. So again, it is this what is your Instagram again? Sorry.
This mom of two.
It's mom of two. That's right. Okay, cool. So everyone, make sure you go follow. She's blowing up. Catch her while she's rising here. So again, thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.